Hey everybody, Dr. Ellis here. I'm going to talk you guys through how to download and begin to edit the Tim Kasser podcast on materialism and then add your commentary to it. So the first thing you want to do is in Canvas, pull this up and hit this little download Tim Kasser button. You can see I've done that. I've actually done that twice down here. And then just simply move it from your download folder into a folder of your choice. Once it's there, you're going to want to open with your Audacity. Now, you can dig it up through Audacity however you want to, but I'm going to hit open with Audacity, and you'll see it takes a few seconds for it to load. And then what I encourage everybody to do is to just listen to the podcast in Audacity, because this is going to give you the ability to tag the areas that are most interesting to you as you go. So once it's here, you'll see.
So part of why the world's so messed up is because the more that people and societies care about the money.
In my case, I already know that the section of audio that I am most interested in is between 7 minutes and 30 seconds, and 8 minutes. And so you can see I'm over here on the zoom in tool, and we're going to go zoom in. Let's see, I want to zoom out actually. Zoom in. Actually, I've got my eye tool first, and this allows me to kind of navigate my cursor. And then I'm going to slide it over here to 7:30. And I'm just going to put my cursor right there. And then zoom in a little bit more. So it's just a 30-second clip that I know that I want. And I'm going to show you how to tag the sections of the podcast that you find most interesting. So you can see I've got my cursor right here at 7:30, and let's hit play.
Existential philosophy and existential psychology and humanism.
Okay, so that's exactly the section that I want to tag, and I want to show you a little trick. So if you want to get it right on the money, you can just zoom in really fine. You can see I'm going into like each second now, 7:29, 7:30, and let's start about right here, and then I'm going to kind of pause as I go.
But existential philosophy.
So I want to start right at existential philosophy, the word existential.
Existential.
I'm even going to cut out the part. You can see I'm moving the cursor over.
Existential philosophy.
Okay, so that's where we begin existential philosophy. I want my quote to begin right there. The easiest way to do this is if you're on a Mac, you'll hit Command B, and it's going to add a little label down here beneath the track. You see that? And I'm just going to call this existential. Not going to write philosophy. We're just going to call it existential. And then now I've got a little label.
Existential philosophy and existential psychology. And
then if I recall right, I want it to end right around 8 minutes. I'm going to shrink this back up using the demagnification tool and get close to 8 minutes, and then go back in so I can see really close where things are. And then I'm looking for the end of the section here.
Looked at it with statistics and all that kind of stuff.
All right, so I want to end it right after he says end, look at it with statistics and all that kind of stuff. It's going to be right around here.
That kind of stuff.
That kind of stuff. And then he takes a breath right here. And so I want to end right here, okay? And then I'm going to add a label again. So this would be Command B or Control B for Windows. Sorry, I didn't mention that before. And then I'm going to put existential end right there, okay? And now I've got this little section here. This is going to be my first quote, okay? I'm going to kind of scan out, and you can see my beginning and end. Now, what's nice is when you run over this, a bright little yellow mark comes, and this is going to make it easy for you to clip. Now, the next thing you want to do is you want to create a new track below this. So you go up to Tracks, Add New, Stereo. And then I'm actually going to shrink this up a little bit so I can see both tracks at the same time. So you can see how I'm just going to the bottom of these tracks, and I can kind of shrink everything so I can see everything at one time. I just like to be able to see what I'm working on. And let's say that what I really want to do is I want to start recording my commentary, right? And one of the things we've talked about recently is that we want to be sure we're introducing kind of the segment before we just play a quote. We wouldn't want to start a podcast with just playing the quote, although there's times for that. So I'm not going to do this too professionally here. I'm just going to say, so I hit pause and record. One thing I want to be sure I'm doing is I'm going to mute this section up here. because that way I won't hear the original podcast as I'm recording my first little section here. So I'm just going to say, this is Justin Ellis, and I am beginning to record my podcast. Now let's stop it there, and we're going to redo that for a couple of reasons. One is we can't really see what we're recording. We're too far out, so I'm going to zoom in. You can see I'm zooming in. And then there are a couple things I didn't like there. One is you might notice my waves, the amplitude of my waves is too high. I was getting into the red zone here. So I'm actually going to shut down my recording volume to about the 0.7 level, which is what I usually like better. And then I'm just going to erase this, kind of highlight it and erase it. I get to start all over again. So I'm going to hit pause, record, and then when I'm ready, I'm going to go. The part of the Kasser podcast that caught my attention was the existential aspects of materialism that were not yet studied empirically. Okay, now I could have done a much better job of an intro to this quote, but that's an example of how to get started. And now, if I want to drop that quote here, we're going to go back up here to these labels and look at how nice this is. We're going to, we don't really need to unmute it. So we're just going to click here and we're going to do it actually up here in the recording. So we're going to click here and go across till we hit that label on the other side, that yellow label. And there we've just selected here in between these pale parts, the clip that we want. So we are going to hit Command or Control C, just like you do to copy anything. And then we're going to take that down here to the bottom track, and we're going to hit paste. Okay. Now, to get it lined up perfectly so that you can hear my kind of intro, and then this is going to play without this giant gap, I'm going to teach you a new tool, and it's this doodad here. It's called the time shift tool. Take the time shift tool, and you're just going to move this track. You're going to click and hold and drag until it's lined up right here. Okay, and now we're going to go back to the eye tool, put it at the beginning of the track, and we're just going to play that and see what it sounds like. The part of the Kasser podcast that caught my attention was the existential aspects of materialism that were not yet studied empirically.
Existential philosophy and existential psychology and humanism.
So you can see how you can line up these quotes, and then afterwards you would just simply put your cursor here at the end, and you could make some commentary after the quote as well. So you unpause, and clearly Kasser has some brilliant ideas about ways to study human values and materialism empirically. Okay? And then you could do the next quote in the same fashion, bringing it down. So I hope that's a good introduction to some additional tools in Audacity. Wish everybody good luck. If you get stuck, send a group me and try and help each other. All right, good luck.